So let me revise the yesterday's topic for some time. Yesterday we have discussed about JDK, JRE, JVM, and so it is always called as these three things are platform dependent. JDK, JRE, and JVM, they are always platform dependent. But when you talk about Java, specifically when you speak about Java, only Java programming language is called as platform independent programming language. Java is independent, right? It will run on any platform. When you are categorically talk about JDK, JRE, JVM, they are always platform dependent. Why it is platform dependent? We have seen these things yesterday because when you are trying to download this, when you try to download Java, what it says, what it is asking you to ensure the operating system. Firstly, you need to ensure the operating system. You need to choose the right operating system to download the Java. If you are using Windows, you need to choose Windows operating system. There is a separate JDK for Windows software, separate JDK for Mac software, right? So it is completely dependent. These things are always dependent on operating system. That's why they are called as platform dependent. But language is independent. Java language is independent. But these tools and these kits, we talk about these kits and tools and these environments and this JVM, we call it as platform dependent, right? So we have also seen some high-level diagram. This is what the high-level diagram looks like. JDK, when you talk about JDK, so JDK comes with JRE plus developing tools. When you talk about JRE is like it comes with JVM plus rt.jar files and other files. When you talk about specifically about JVM, this is what it is. Inside JVM, you can see class loaders, garbage collector. Very simple, very straightforward explanation. Very straightforward. JDK is always used by developers or beginners. For learning Java, you will have to use JDK. As simple as that. Because with a JDK, you can write a code, you can do the compilation, you can perform the execution. You need to go through three operations: compiling, developing, compiling, and executing the program. It's necessary for us, right? Because we are learning, we need all these three things. Even company, any software company, they need JDKs installed in their respective systems. But the clients are nothing but customers. The customers, they don't want anything to do with the JDK because for them execution is mandatory. Execution is important. They give priority for the execution, right? You after the source code file will be converted to .class file. You are going to share this .class file, isn't it? To the respective client, you are going to share the .class file over the network, and they will run these .class files in their machine by using JRE. For them, JDK is not required, right? So these are the explanations that I have given yesterday about what is JRE. Again, it is platform dependent. First point you have to do is you have to write is platform dependent. And who uses JRE? Clients or customers, they use JRE. When J use JRE, clients don't install JDKs. Inside JRE, you want to speak specifically about JREs. Inside JRE, JVM is a part of JRE, and along with the JVM, you can find some libraries inside the JRE. Okay? So these things are very important to understand the execution concept. From the interview point of view, this is very, very important. Trust me, question is very imperative. Definitely you will get this question. When you include Java in your resume, is the most important question I can say. Not one of the important question. It is the most important question. So try to check my previous video if you don't understand, or you can ask me directly. So let's jump into the execution part. Compilation part is completed. Let's jump into the execution part. This part will be very interesting, and I need you all to pay some attention. So for execution, let me take this down now. This is the common diagram that we can use to understand the compilation and the execution. Already we have understood about the compilation. So we will understand about the execution. Just have a look at this diagram. This a kind of like this space is made for my system. I mean my system has been partitioned into two drives, C drive and D drive. The C drive, all the program files and all the things related to operating system. By default, it will be in this. It will be placed inside the C drive. So OS is here. Inside OS, command prompt is here, and the Java after the installation by default it will be saved inside the C drive. So this is the D drive. I'm using D drive to write and save Java source code. And things we are using command prompt to perform the compilation as well as execution. So compilation part is already completed. Now today we will understand the execution part. It's very important concept, execution. After completing this, the first Java programming concept, when first Java programming code will be over. Execution. See, execution, when you talk about execution, the question will be like, what file will be executed? First question. So JVM will come into picture when you talk about execution. Secondly, JVM will come into picture when we talk about execution. When you talk about compilation, compiler will come into picture. But when you talk about execution, JVM will come into picture. And tell me one thing, if I want to perform execution, so this execution thing is directly depend on .class files. You can execute only .class files. So what I'm saying is, first point, only .class files can be executed and they should be supplied into the Java virtual machine. How we are going to supply that we will understand. The .class files can be executed and they should be supplied into the JVM. Secondly, programmer has to ensure that the .class file which has main method should be loaded inside the JVM. Let us understand these 2 points firstly, then I will elaborate a little bit more. Okay. And again, this space is meant for source code, and this space is meant for compilation, and this space is meant for execution. Let me open my notepad. Please pay some attention here. Lot of things are involved inside. Okay, same example I am taking, which I have taken yesterday. I have taken class A, and let me take one more. Let me add one more class in between class A and sample. I am adding class B. So totally, how many number of classes I have? I have 3 classes. This is the main class. Sample class is the main class. Why it is main class? Because we have placed the main method inside the sample class. Totally, we have 3 classes. Right? Let me go to that folder and delete the existing files. Delete 3 classes. So this is this typical source code, and I need to save this source code with .java extension. Save. Okay, let me use save as sample.java. It has been saved successfully. Sample.java. Where it is saved inside D drive, inside Java 3 folder. And see the location here. It has been saved successfully. Just assume that I have three classes, and inside this sample class I have a main method. Since I do not have much space, just it is very understandable. In that I am placing the main method inside the sample class. This is the source code. The code that you are writing is always the source code. So the source code needs compilation, because compiler will ensure, when it will check for errors, right? So after compilation, you can perform the execution. Now tell me one thing. This is the source code, and we need to perform the compilation. For compilation, what command we usually use? Java C space, the class name, the file name, sample.java. Right? As soon as the command prompt encounter this Java C, right? What it does usually, it will go and check in the class path in the environmental variables. We have seen these things already. The class path, it will find the bin folder. Inside the bin folder, it will encounter this javac command. Right? As soon as it encounters javac command, it will activate compiler. Right? Now the compiler will start checking for syntax errors and semantics errors. Right? So this will be sent to compiler. Compiler will check for syntax and semantic errors. Okay, if the code is error free, if the code has no errors, how many dot class files will be generated? Question is, how many dot class files will be generated? 3 dot class files will be generated, because there are 3 classes, isn't it? So 3 dot class files will be generated. So let me create a small bucket here. Here 3 dot class files will be generated, and it will be placed inside this bucket. As simple as that. So dot class, A dot class, B dot class, sample dot class, right? A dot class, B dot class, sample dot class. 3 dot class files will be generated, and it will be placed somewhere. The bucket means this bucket can be represented as a folder. There is no physical bucket. Just understand that it is a folder. Right? So let us perform the compilation through command prompt. So the files are saved inside the D directory. So I am switching to the D directory. Right? So in the D directory, there is a folder called javac. So I am just pointing this command prompt towards this directory. Okay, now I need to perform compilation. Compilation, the command is javac space file name. File name is what? Sample dot. Compilation is successful. The compilation is successful. You don't see any errors. The cursor keeps blinking in the command prompt. But if you go back to the folder, and if you see, 3 dot class files are generated. See, class file, class file, class file. A dot class, B dot class, sample dot class. Right? That is what the same representation I have placed. 3 dot class file are generated. Now you as a developer, you can load only one dot class file to the JVM. This is the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine. You as a programmer can load only one dot class file. There are 3 dot class files. but you can load only one dot class file. And the command for loading the dot class file is what? Java command. To use Java command, whatever the class name that you are giving here will be loaded. Right? So what I mean to say is, there are three classes here: class A, class B, sample. I can either give sample, I can either give B, I can either give A. No issues. I can give any file, any class name. But if I give A dot class file will be loaded. If I give B dot class file will be loaded. If I give sample, sample dot class file will be loaded. But the question is, you as a developer, which dot class file you have to load? You need to ensure that the class where the main method is placed, that dot class file needs to be loaded. Because the execution will always starts from main method. Main method is the entry point of the execution, and the main method is the endpoint for the termination. Please understand that. Okay, sir, what if I am loading a different dot class file which has no method? So let me try to load B. I'm trying to load B. If I give enter, see the error is main method not found in class B. Why this error is happening, we'll understand. First of all, why these errors are coming, we'll understand. So what I just did, I have used a command like, let me copy this command. So this is the command. I have used Java followed by the class name, B class name. As soon as I use this command, the command prompt will check whether this command is listed in the operating system. It will not find this command in the operating system. Secondly, it will check in the environment variables. Like we have already seen that the C drive, program files, Java, we have a folder called JDK. Inside JDK, we have a folder called bin. Inside bin, we have a lot of Java tools, and this Java is one of the tools. And this tool, it will identify this location and it will do what? It will activate JVM. It will act as soon as it finds this Java, it is going to activate JVM. JVM will be activated. JVM will be activated. Right? After the JVM is activated, we have given a file class name, the name of B. Right? It will take B dot class inside this. JVM will consume this B dot class file. Or we can also say B dot class file will be loaded inside the JVM. Only one dot class file will be loaded always. You can load only one dot class file explicitly. So in this case, why B dot class file? Because here Java space B, that's why B dot class file. Java space sample means sample dot class file. Whatever the class name that you are giving there, that dot class file will be loaded. Okay, dot class file has been loaded inside the JVM. Let me so dot class files are generated. And now secondly, dot class files are loaded. So to generate dot class files, which command we have used? javac command. Javac, and we have used Java. These are the two prominent commands. Javac is for to generate to perform compilation, and Java is for to perform the execution. So B dot class file is loaded inside the JVM. As soon as this dot class file is loaded inside the JVM, what happens again? A main thread will be created. Inside the JVM, a thread will be created. Thread is nothing like, it's a control. Thread will be created. What this thread will do? This thread will fetch look into the B dot class file. It will try to find main method. Whether we have placed a main method inside this B dot class file or not, that job will be this main thread is going to check if the main method is existed inside the B dot class file or not. Do you think it is existed in B dot class file? No, it is not, because the main method is inside sample class. Right? Since it is not able to find the main method, this is what the exception will go. Exception says Main method not found in the class book. Please define the. It is asking us to define the main method in the class book. So from this, there is one conclusion we got. What is the conclusion? Right? We need to load the dot class file that has main method. That is the direct conclusion. From this error, the direct conclusion is you as a programmer has to ensure that the main class should be loaded, or the class where you have placed the main method should be loaded inside the JVM. If not, these are the consequences. The consequences is what? Main method not found in the class B. Please define the main method. Case 1. Right? So case 2. Case 2 is this is case 1. Let me write this as case 1. Let me take the same picture for understanding. So case 2, we will understand case 2. So how many dot class file usually gets created? 3 dot class files. So because we have 3 classes, 3 dot class files will be created. So let me write that once again. Let us assume that this is a bucket. Okay. Again, A dot class, B dot class, sample dot class. I am performing the compilation for second time. A dot class, B dot class, sample dot. So it was acceptable. Either we can give Java space. I can give A, or I can give B, or I can give sample. These three things are actually accepted because we have only 3 classes. What if I give a different name here? What if I give a class name that is not existed here? For example, let me say that I am giving a name like Balaji. It is not making any sense, right? I cannot give this name because in my program I have only 3 classes: class A, class B, class C. I can give any of these names, no issues. To be specific, I can give sample class because it has main method. But this is something which I cannot give, right? Out of the box. So try to enter. What is error? Cannot find the class or load main class biology. There is a lot of behind the scenes. So many things are happening to display this error. What actually is happening? I will explain. Understand this. Try to focus here. Case 2. In the case 2, I am trying to load what? Java space Balaji and include. Balaji is not a class here because we have A class, we have B class, we have sample class, and Balaji is nowhere related to our source file, right? So when I do this, I get this. Right? So what JVM does? JVM will try to find if Balaji.class file is in the current location. This is the current location. Firstly, understand this. JVM will try to find if the class is located in the current location. What is the current location? This is the current location. In our example, this is the current location. This is the current location. The location that we have specified inside the command prompt is the current location. So it is not found in the current location. Secondly, it will try to find it in the predefined variables. First location. second location. It will try to find the if the file existed, if the class is existed in the predefined library. So predefined library is nothing but we have already seen that rt.jar file. Inside C, inside program files, we have a Java. After downloading Java, we get JDK and JRE. Inside JRE, inside so this is the file rt.jar file. RT means runtime jar file. In this file, there will be lot of predefined Java libraries. Lot of predefined Java libraries will be, are placed inside this rt.jar file. Okay. Secondly, it will identify if the if the class is existed in this rt.jar file. Secondly, first it will try check in the current location. Current location, it is not there. Second, it will try to find this in the predefined library. In the predefined library is also not there. We know that it won't be there because it was given by me, right? It won't be there. But it will check all these locations before even coming to the conclusion. That's what I'm trying to say. Before even giving this error message, not this one. Before even giving this error message, it will check all these locations. First location, second location, third current location, predefined library, and the thirdly in the environmental in the class path environment variables. Class path variables. So what is this class path environment variables? We have seen this, right? In the control panel, if you go to, let me show that once again. Control panel, we have system variables. Inside this, we have environmental variables. It will try to identify it here. If we have defined any additional, any third-party location where some, where the system can find some jar files, any external library. Right? So it will find whether the Balaji class file is located in the current file. Firstly, current file it is not available. Secondly, it will check in predefined library. What is predefined library? This is a predefined library. Third, it will check in class path and variables. After checking all these three locations, it will come to conclusion that the file it is unable to identify the class which we have defined. That's why it is throwing this error. This error is not getting thrown directly just like that. It will check all these three locations. Right? Future, there are chances that you may get a interview like could not find or load main class. What does it really mean? If they ask you, you will have to answer this. So when the program is getting executed, JVM will search for the class file in three locations. First is in the current location, second one is the predefined library, third one the class path environment. The JVM is unable to identify this class file in all these three locations. Then you get this error. What is that error? Could not find or load main class files. This is the case 2. This is case 1 and this is case 2. Case 1 is we are loading a different .class file which has no main method. Case 2 is we are trying to load a class file that is not even existed. Right? Hope you're able to understand. Are you with me? Just type yes in the chat box. Or I am making any confusion for you. Case 2. Tell me guys, are you with me? Are you following? Okay then. Now the topic will be very interesting. The third case is very easy. What is the third case? Just give the right class name. That's it. Java space sample. Output is delivered. Hello world. But the question is how this output is executed. How this output is delivered. That is the question. Right? So many things are involved to deliver this hello world. we will understand what are the things involved behind the scenes. Right? Shall I start? Shall I start? Want answers from you? Shall I start? Shall I start? Respond, guys. Shall we proceed? Okay. Case 3. Understand this case 3. I'm taking a big space for case 3. Let me take this space. And case 3. Very interesting. Will be very interesting. Pay some attention. After this case 3, the execution part will be completed. From tomorrow we can jump into primitive data types. The programming part will be started from tomorrow. So usually 3 dot class files are generated, isn't it? Every time think like this, it looks, sometimes it looks very ridiculous to think like this very often, but this is how you can remember things. These are the foundation. Every time you will have to think like this. So how many dot class files are generated? 3 dot class files are generated. What are they? A dot class, one minute. A dot class, B dot class, sample dot class. Right? P dot class file is generated. Now let us assume that we are loading the right class in the sense the main class inside the JVM. Let me remove this. Now I am going to give a command like, so this is what we have given, right? Java space sample. Sample is a class name where we have placed the main method. So after the command prompt encounters this command, what it does, it will load this sample.class file, or it will pull this sample.class file inside the JVM. Right? The sample.class file will be taken inside the JVM, taken to the JVM. Right? Then after this, main thread will be created. Right? Main thread will try to get access to the main method. Right? Now here you must understand, this is the dot class file, right? Sample dot class file. So this is the source file. This is the dot class file. If you look at sample dot class file, you will not understand anything inside. So this is what it is. Are you able to understand anything? You don't understand anything. You copy this. So sample dot class file is loaded, and the JVM sees only these instructions. JVM sees some random instructions which you don't understand, which I don't understand. Right? What JVM will do? So this is the dot class file of what? Sample.java. So this main thread will try to get access to the main method. Inside this main thread is capable of finding the main method inside the bytecode. Understand that? You and me, we are not capable, but JVM is capable enough. JVM is powerful enough to identify the main method inside this bytecode. So far, for understanding purpose, I was telling that JVM will get access to the main method in the source file. That is for our understanding. But today, the reality is JVM will try to get access to the main method that is inside the bytecode. It will check each and every instruction. Main thread will check each and every instruction. let us we'll check each and every instruction. As soon as it finds main method, it is okay. Okay, it has found the main method. Inside the main method, it will check each and every instruction. Right? This is what the main method, main thread does. Right? But to understand it specifically, we will just assume that this is what the main method sees. Main method usually sees this, but from our understanding, let us assume, okay, let me write that source file also here so that we will understand. This is the source code. Main method sees the reads the bytecode, but for our understanding, so let us assume that this is a bytecode because it is very cut and clear, right? This is a bytecode. Right? So it has main method, and secondly, it is finding this instruction. The instruction is what? System.out.println hello world. Now one interesting thing will happen here. So in this instruction, there is a file, there is a class file. This is the class file. This is system is the class file. In the main method, main thread has found a class file by the name of system. System is a class file. So system is the class file. It was created by the Java people. Whatever the class files that are created by the Java people, they usually place it in the rt.jar file. They will be found in rt.runtime jar file, rt.jar file. So now what JVM does, it has found a class file. Now JVM, its responsibility to load this class file inside the main thread responsibility is to load this system class file inside the JVM. So far we have sample.class. Now it has encountered another class. Dynamically it has encountered. During the runtime it has encountered another class. So it will load this system class file inside the JVM. So this system class file is found in which location? rt.jar file, rt.jar location. This rt.jar is in which location? This is the location. This is the location. I already said you right. JVM will try to find .class files in 3 locations. The current location in the predefined library. So this is where you will find the system.class file. Right? And as soon as it finds it, it will load the system.class file inside the JVM. In the runtime, after compilation, sample.class file has been loaded, and during the runtime, now it is loading system.class file. Let us assume that the system.class file is being loaded inside JVM. Dynamic loading, that's why Java is called as what? Dynamic programming language. The system.class file will be loaded now. Suppose it has encountered this inside the main method. Now this .class file will also find a place in JVM. Let me keep it like this. So now 2 .class files are there in the JVM. Now JVM will not find for the main method inside this .class file because JVM is already working inside the main method only. Inside the main method, it has found another class, and that class has to be loaded inside the JVM. Right? Now what happens? This particular code, the class has been loaded here, and inside this particular code, it performs 3 operations. What are they? Read the code. Read the line. Reading the code. Interpret, execute. In simple words, read the code, convert it into the machine language. Read the code, convert it into zeros and ones, then execute. Three operations are done: reading, interpreting means converting it into machine code, and then execute. Right? While reading, it has found system. So during the reading, it has found the system file. So it will load the system file inside the JVM. Then it will convert this particular line into zeros and ones, machine code. We can call it as native code, the code that is understandable by the operating system. And then it will perform the execution. What is that to execute? Machine will understand. What will understand? Okay, these are the sequence of zeros and ones. These are generated from reading this code. Which code? This code. So this is human representation. Hello world. Hello world will be converted into zeros and ones, and it will be executed. During execution, the output is going to be what? Hello world. So it is like human being is talking to machine is understanding that, and again the machine is converting it to the human language. For one instructions, this many things are happening. Hope you're able to understand this. If you have 10 instructions, for each and every instruction, this will happen: read, interpret, execute. Interpretation means what? Converting into the machine code. Then the machine will understand, because this is the sequence of numbers, zeros and ones. Machine understands zeros and ones, and it will decipher the output from the zeros and ones. It will perform some evaluation, and it will decipher the output from the zeros and ones combination. And during the execution, the output will be displayed in the console. High-level language, right? High-level language is converted to what? Byte code. And the byte code, inside the byte code, it is going to read each and every line, and from the byte code the machine language, and from the machine language the output is getting displayed inside the console. So we have discussed just for our understanding, we have used the source file, but actually this read, interrupt, execute will happen in the byte code. Actually, since the byte code is not readable, we have just assumed this as a byte code. Hope you are able to understand this. This read, this interpret, this execute will happen from the byte code only, not from the source code. For our understanding, I have taken the source code as an example because byte codes are not readable. Right? So this is how the output is getting generated. Right? If you have 100 instructions here, for each and every instruction, it will read, it will interpret, it will execute. For each and every line, the machine code will be generated, and it will perform the execution. If you have 100 lines, same thing happens. So if you understand one thing here, dot class files are getting loaded during the runtime, dynamic loading. Whenever it is required, dynamically the dot class files are getting loaded. We have created 3 dot class files, but there is no use of a dot class file, b dot class file. It is just sitting in the bucket, right? So the dot class file that are used for the execution, those dot class files are getting loaded, dynamic loading. If there is any usage, load those files. For now, this dot class files has no scope, right? That's why it is sitting in the bucket. If you are placing any instruction over here, like if you are placing any instruction like where the a dot class file is to be loaded, then at that time this dot class file will be loaded. If you are creating any object for a, or if you are creating any object for b, if there is any requirement here for a dot class or b dot class files here, then during the runtime it will be loaded. This is the internal, this is the case 3. So we just see like to give Java a sample, output will be delivered. Of course, this is the plain understanding, but this is what we call it as the deep understanding. 3 cases. If you remember these 3 cases, you can understand any language, any programming language execution very easily. Making sense? Hello? They have completed execution part. Understanding? Ashwant, Samyukta, Ganesh. I will give you the notes. If you say you are able to understand, I will give you the notes. If you want some explanation, I will give you. If you want little bit explanation, I will give you. Okay, so this is what the typical execution. This is how the execution happens, right? Okay, sir. Your question will be, what is the proof that the particular dot class file is getting loaded? What is the proof that only sample dot class file is getting loaded? What is the proof? In the interviews, the questions can be like this. Right? To understand the proof, just create a static block. Static block is nothing but a block which has the opening parenthesis and the closing parenthesis. Inside the static block, give a simple statement. System dot out dot println sample class is getting loaded inside the JVM. Right? Sample class is getting loaded inside the JVM. And let me copy and paste it here. Don't get confused. I am just using a keyword called static. Static is a keyword and I have formed a block. Inside that I am giving a statement. Any statement you can give. But this statement will help us to understand which dot class file is getting loaded inside the JVM. So this is sample class. This is a P class. It's getting loaded. And over here, A class is getting loaded. Right? Let me save this. See, let me do the compilation. Java C space sample.java, file name.java. Now Java C space sample. See? This is the proof that sample class is getting loaded inside the Java. Secondly, Java space, let me give another file name. Because in this case, the main method is not available here. That's why it is the a.class file is not getting loaded. Main method should be there. Firstly, main method should be there before even performing the execution. Main method should be there. That's why it is giving us error. Let me do some little changes here. What I am trying to do is in the second line, okay, in this main method, I am creating object for class A. A object equal to new. Forget about this. This is just an object creation. It means this main method has an instruction which is creating an object for A. So dependency is there for A. The control will be transferred to A class. Now in this case, the A class has to get loaded. A class has to get loaded inside the Java. If you run this, you will understand. Java C space sample.java Java space. The sample class is getting loaded inside the JVM. A class is also getting loaded inside the JVM. Because we are calling it, it is getting loaded dynamically. If you understand this, execution will be completed. Let us understand this problem. Okay. Save. Okay, so I have three classes. Class A, let me do like this. This is class A, and I have another class called class B, and I have class C. Class B, and I have class sample. Right? So we know compilation will happen and execution will be on. During compilation, three dot class files will be generated. We know that already. Let us keep it very simple. What are the dot class files? A dot class, B dot class, and sample dot class. After compilation, I see three dot class files in the folder. What are they? a dot class, b dot class, sample dot class. Right, this will be placed inside a bucket. Right, now JVM comes into picture for the execution. This is the JVM. Right, so what we usually do, in order to perform the execution, we'll give a command like java space the class name that has main method sample. Right, so because of this, the sample dot class file will get loaded inside the JVM. Now understand this. While sample dot class file is getting loaded, the static block will be executed. Understand? Let me repeat it once again. The sample dot class will be loaded inside the JVM. During the loading, while the class is getting loaded, at the same time, this static block inside the sample class will get executed. Firstly, if the static block is getting executed, it means that sample dot class file is getting loaded. If the sample dot class file is getting loaded, if there is any static content, that has to get executed. This is how you can you can analyze the proof. So this will be executed, right? And the main thread will be created, and main thread will try to get access to the main method, right? And it will try to find each and every instruction. First instruction is what? It is seeing an instruction like object has been created for class A. Now it has found the class A information here, right? So it wants, in order to create object for class A, it has to load dot class file of A, right? So now this time what happens? A dot class file will be loaded. Dynamically it is loading. Let's understand that. Not statically, dynamically. Whenever it is required, it is. So while loading this A dot class file, static content of A class will be executed. A class, and this data will be executed inside the class. And the program will be terminated because it is going to reach the end of the main method. The end of the main method is the exit point of the main method, and it will lead to the termination. So this b dot class file will remain idle in the folder. No use. The usage is happened only for sample dot class file and a dot class file. That's why the JVM loads the dot class files dynamically. Only when it is required, the dot class files will be loaded. Making sense? Even though if you are creating 100 dot class files, only the main dot class file will be loaded. If there is any requirement for the other dot class file, you need to define that in the main method. If you are defining that in the main method, those dot class files will be considered and will be taken into the JVM. Making sense? This is all about what execution. Tomorrow I will give you the complete theory. Are you able to understand this? Just type yes in the chat box if you are able to understand.